I myself am guilty of this. Can you guess? I guess not. It's about making a will. When investing in real estate, especially in a foreign country, it's extremely important to make a will for yourself. In the UK, I'm not from Dubai, I'm not from UAE. So in foreign countries, I need to know the law, and it's something that if you're investing, I think it's very important to understand this narrative and how it works. And so today's podcast is about a very important topic when it comes to real estate. In fact, this topic is neglected, overlooked. There's not enough consideration given to it when it comes to it. I myself am guilty of this. Can you guess? I guess not. It's about making a will. When investing in real estate, especially in a foreign country, it's extremely important to make a will for yourself. So today I've brought a very special guest from a renowned law firm in Dubai, Mr. Abdullah from AWS Legal Firm. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here as well with you.
So tell us about what do you do, what law you offer, what's your role in yourself and your company?
Sure. So I'm a legal consultant at AWS Legal. It's a fourth-gen family law firm that started by my grandfather, my father, and now myself here in the UAE. We've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've been doing real estate as far as I can remember. Of course, at the law firm, we do other things and other fields of law, corporate commercial, taxation, inheritance matters, and they're all somehow linked with real estate, as you can imagine. And I think you've touched on a very important topic, which, as you mentioned, has been overlooked for many years. And it will be good to talk about this and see how we can.
Yeah. So I myself, as an investor, I keep saying I'm from the UK. I've invested in UK, a few other countries, and Dubai also. And I myself don't actually have a will, And to be honest, now that I'm at this stage in my life, I think that I definitely need to have a will. And there's no age for a will because as uncertainty. There's one thing guaranteed for sure is death. It can come anytime, and what are you supposed to do? And like me, I'm from the UK. I'm not from Dubai. I'm not from UAE. So in foreign countries, I need to know the law, and it's something that if you're investing, I think it's very important to understand this narrative and how it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think let's dive into it. I myself have a lot of questions, so hopefully this is going to be very beneficial for the viewers and for people like me who've invested in real estate. So, Mr. Abdullah, tell me now. Imagine there's an investor who is from UK, Europe. Basically, he's not from Dubai. If he invests in real estate in Dubai, he owns a few properties. What will happen in an event of death? Like he dies. I mean, this is Islamic country, right?
Sure.
Dubai. What happens? He don't have a will. What's the process?
So the process and let's say by default, since the UAE is a Sharia compliant country and the fundamental legal framework relies on Sharia, then Sharia principles will apply to the properties. Now there can be an exception or two exceptions in this situation. One is if there is a will that's registered by the person who passed away, then that will govern and help the inheritors get their rights based on the will. Now, the other exception is the inheritors will have to apply to, bring their national laws to the UAE courts, and then that is going to be a very lengthy and costly process for the courts to apply such laws into the UAE. So by default, the Sharia will apply unless you have a will in place or you can apply for your national laws to be
right. So basically, if I own real estate in Dubai and I'm from the UK, like in my case, and I don't have a will, there's two options. One, I will get the Sharia law placed on me. And does that make a difference whether if I'm a Muslim or not a Muslim? Or is that general for any religion?
It's general for everyone. So the Sharia law applies for everyone in general, unless, as I said, unless you apply and request for your national laws.
Yeah. So the second option is, okay, I don't have a will. One, I take the Sharia law. The second option is I apply as an inheritor.
Correct.
Right. I applied to get the law of my country applied on this in this situation. Yeah. So, and is that a lengthy? I think you were saying
It's a lengthy and costly, and it's even subject to the approval of the courts. So, for example, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, the application is more lenient, let's say, of the national laws of other countries. But in other emirates, you find them more strict and rigid in applying the Sharia law on the inheritors. So, to avoid all this, say, struggle and headache, you always advise as a lawyer to either have a will in place well in advance, and as you mentioned, it doesn't matter about the age, that comes to anyone at any.
Right. Okay. So, something you just mentioned there, and to make it clear for the viewers, so different states of United Arab Emirates have different laws when it comes to inheritance.
So the law is the same in all of the UAE. The Sharia law is applicable in all of the Emirates. It's just the application and the legal framework around it could be a little bit different. So the application, let's say, is more rigid in some places than others.
Okay, that's pretty understandable. So, so whether you have residency in Dubai or United Arab Emirates, does that make a difference, influence anything, or is it just same story?
So the let's say the idea that we got recently from the recent changes in the law is that it doesn't matter if you're a resident or you live abroad. If you're a non-Muslim, the flexibility that has been allowed now is that you have the option to apply to bring your national laws in the country. Now, this is not always the case. We've seen some instances where inheritors or spouses, in cases of divorce, do not apply for national laws, but apply the Sharia law, even if they're not Muslim. And I've seen that this has become a trend now, especially in matters of guardianship and say the rights to the spouse after divorce. The Sharia law is more, I'd say, fair in these situations. When it comes to property and assets, I have seen, yes, that the non-Muslims try to bring their national laws into the country, because as you know, the split of properties and assets is a little bit more fair in those situations.
Yes, okay. And you've just talked a little bit, touched upon my second question, which I really had. So one thing is if someone dies, okay, if you don't have a will, you've got the two options, what we've just said, or you make a will and simplify everything and do it the way you want to do without any headache and less costly as well. And the second, more costly. And the second thing is, so you have a couple, they're married, for example, again, I keep using UK because I'm from UK, but what I mean is like anyone out of United Arab Emirates, you're married in UK, accordance to the UK law. Now you're living in Dubai and you buy a property, right? You both live in Dubai. What happens to the property in an event of divorce? I mean, what kind of law is applied? Is it your country law? Is it the local law, Sharia law?
Yep. So in these situations, we have to differentiate between the two situations. For example, if the couple do not reside in the UAE and they're still in the UK, then the regular divorce procedures in their home country can apply. All they'll have to do is get the finalized and ratified version of the divorce judgment, for example, which will typically outline how the assets are split up between the couple. That would have to come then to the UAE for the courts here to ratify such judgment and apply the split accordingly. And the UAE law and the courts are flexible to accept and bring in such judgments and apply it here to the couple. So, for example, you can imagine a situation where the husband had 4 or 5 properties which were not jointly owned, so they were owned solely by himself, under his personal name. And the wife managed to get a verdict in the UK or whatever, split the properties 50-50. That judgment can be brought in here to the courts. It would have to go through a bit of a lengthy process to ratify such judgment, but then eventually the courts will adhere to this verdict and will split the property 50-50 between the two.
Between the two
couple.
Yeah. So now you said that if they were living in the UK and they invested, imagine they were living here.
If they're living here, it's again the standard rule is that Sharia law will apply, because the Sharia law also governs the real estate laws. Unless, as I said, one of the couple, one of the parties decide to use and utilize their country laws, that will be a different procedure. So the UAE law allows you to bring in your country and your national laws to the UAE courts and do the divorce procedures in here based on those laws.
And, for example, in some case, for example, the husband thinks, okay, well, no, I want the Sharia law, and the wife wants the national law. What happens then?
So this is a very common dispute that occurs in the courts, and how the court views it, and which I think is logical and fair. They take the weaker side, and what benefits the weaker side. So, for example, if the wife is applying for national laws, and based on how the court interprets such laws, it will benefit her to a greater degree. They will rely on that law. So if there's a dispute on which laws to apply, the court or the judge in this instance will try to be fair with the weaker side, which is typically the woman, unless she has the assets and she has the money. And if she wants to use her laws which benefit her, then the court will take that position.
Right, okay, that makes sense. So to make a will, what's the cost? What's the process?
So there are multiple ways to register a will, depending on the emirate and how you wanted to get it done. In Dubai, for example, you have the DIFC, and you have the Dubai courts. So the DIFC is a faster process. You can do it online without even having to be present in the country. The cost of which, if you're doing only a property will, 7,500. If you're doing a full will to outline the full, let's say, scope, that's around 10,500.
When you say full scope, you mean
assets and in terms of properties and bank accounts, any other wills that you, or let's say, things that you want to pass on to your inheritors.
So one of them is 7.5, the DIFC one, and Dubai court is about 10.
No, the DIFC splits it as a property will, 7,500. A full will is 10,500.
In the DIFC.
The DIFC.
And through
That
Dubai
that
court.
can be done online as well, as I mentioned. Don't have to be physically present in UAE.
You need a lawyer for this, right?
Exactly. So the process will be a consultation where we discuss with the couple the assets, understand how they want to split it, and then the drafting process begins. So we have to draft such.
Is this for the will as well as divorce issue? Is
Yes.
the will the same process?
Exactly.
And what's the difference between DIFC will and a Dubai court? Is one more powerful? Is one more?
It doesn't grant you any more powers than the other. It's just the process and the timeline with the cost. So the Dubai courts wills require you to be present here physically to get it done, and it's a bit cheaper, as you can imagine, 5,000 dirhams almost to get a Dubai notary will get done here. But the process and the rights are the same.
Yeah. So the DIFC will basically you don't have to be in Dubai. It can be done online.
Correct.
And for the Dubai, you have to be present.
Correct. And the same is applicable in Abu Dhabi as well. So the ADJD allows you to do it online, and it's even much cheaper than the DIFC. So 950 dirhams to get it done online as well.
So if I make, for example, I make a will in Dubai, right? Is that valid for
It
all
applies
the other
in all
states?
the emirates, of course.
Okay, perfect.
All of your assets in different emirates as well.
And the DIFC will, how long does that take to
So
make?
1 to 2 weeks. This will cover the period between us as a law firm drafting the will and having the consultation, and then registering it officially with the DIFC.
Yes. So how does it work? I'm in UK. I phone you. I contact AWS Legal Consultancy, and I say, okay, I want a will. This is what I want. This is what I'm going towards. Do I do anything else? Is there anything else apart from paying?
We
you?
will request, of course, a few documents just to verify the information, the title deed and whatnot.
Title deed and
Title deed, the marriage certificates, a list of the inheritors that you wish to incorporate to this will.
if you got children, then their
Exactly.
names,
Exactly, and their
Date of
passport
birth.
copies, everything.
Birth-
Birth certificates.
birth certificates, and their passport.
Exactly.
So all that we can.
Supply to the law firm. We will then have to review it, and typically we even recommend the best way to move forward. So there could be a mirror will, it could be a standardized full will, and of course we will guide you on how to get it done. It's usually not more than 2 weeks to get the
So-
process done.
So we give you all the documents. You go to work with the documents. 2 weeks down the line, the
We
will
draft.
should-
We should draft the will, and then it's reviewed by the client just to verify that everything is okay. We then organize a session with the DIFC courts. It's one session online that can be done with the person who wants to register the will, and then that's it. It goes under the enforcement, let's say, procedure, and within a few days it's done.
Yeah. And for the Dubai court one, it's cheaper, but they have to be present.
They have to be
in
and
Dubai.
the courts want to see them.
And how long is the process? with that?
It's not more than a week. It's the process in the course is faster, but it needs a physical visit.
You know, a common, because obviously you're dealing with clients who are making wills and so on. Can you outline some common mistakes what people make with wills, or
Yep.
I mean, apart from one being not making one?
That's the first and most common
Yeah.
thing we see. Most people don't have wills in place and don't even have a lawyer, which I think in the UK, for example, you background, it's a lawyer-to-lawyer transaction. The lawyers are the ones that are handling the whole process. In the UAE, most of the time, you find that the investors are buying and selling with no prior legal knowledge of what they're doing, and they always end up, not always, but sometimes they end up in tricky situations, and then they'll ask for a lawyer when it's a bit too late. So that's what I think is one of the most common mistakes: not having a will, not having a lawyer, and then assuming that since they have a will abroad, to automatically apply in the UAE, which is not the case. You have to register a will in the UAE if you have assets that are in the country, especially since it's a Sharia compliant country. So in the UK or abroad, the laws and the application of a will could be different, and we always recommend that you have a will in place here.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people, they, when you say Sharia law, it's like,
It's a bit
yeah. Oh
topic.
no, Sharia, and especially if you're a non-Muslim. Me being a Muslim, I don't mind Sharia law. For me, it's perfect. But some people out there, they might,
It just comes from not knowing what Sharia law applies. Once you understand it and see how it works, as I said, I've seen a trend now where non-Muslims, especially the women, are applying to use Sharia law because it's fair. It gives you a lot of power and rights.
Yeah, I believe so. Also, I think it's the best law. That's a different story,
Well,
a different topic. That's a different topic. So, okay. So now for the viewers, if anyone wants to make a will, in the comments, in the description part, we're gonna have Mr. Abdullah's firm's details on there. You can directly contact him and get yourself a will. I think it's the best thing you can do. Make a will, and you just better be safe than sorry. Just to, I've in the past I've spoke to investors who have been talking about the Sharia law and said, well, it's like this and it's like this, and they've got a different opinion to what I know of the Sharia law is. So I told them at that time, make a will if you're not very sure or certain, so if you want to make a will, feel free to contact Mr. Abdullah, and I'm sure you're in very good hands. He's from a very reputable company. Thank you very much for having you, Mr. Abdullah,
It's a pleasure.
and until next time, goodbye.